Mark Schlereth was on the call with Dick Stockton yesterday, calling in this game. He joins us now. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, and if there's anybody that knows pretending, it's Richard Sherman. He was pretending that Baker Mayfield wouldn't shake anybody's hand, so he's an expert on pretending.
Okay, what did you need to see something yesterday to be all in on the Niners?
No, I mean I watched their film to prepare, Dan. So I had watched what they have done defensively. I've watched what they've done in the running game. And so I knew that this is a good football team. They control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They're one of the most unique teams when it comes to running the ball. And I think Kyle Shanahan has proven to be, in my mind, one of the best coaches in the NFL. And I think what separates him is he understands all 22 and the problems or the issues that every position has. And I think he does a great job of telling his people and telling his players what we're going to do, but more importantly, why we're going to do it, and then how it's going to benefit you in the long run. So I think he gets buy-in where a lot of other coaches don't get the same buy-in based on the way they. So, like this team they're a good football team, and I'm like you in that Jimmy Garoppolo has to prove to me that he can stay healthy was my biggest issue with Jimmy. But they're a really good football team. There's no question about that.
As many years as you played, and you know it doesn't take long for the league or defensive coordinators to get a book on offenses or vice versa, offensive coordinator get a book on a defense and figure them out. Have defenses figured out the Rams?
Well, to a degree, one of the things that's happened to the Rams is you go back to last season, Detroit did it some, Chicago did it some, and then, the master class was the New England Patriots. And there's been a lot of cut and paste game plans from the Patriots in the Super Bowl where they held the Rams down to 3 points. A lot of cut and paste off of that stuff to kind of shut down some of that jet sweep and some of that illusion of complexity that has been the Rams. The Rams were able to dictate for several years offensively to defenses, and right now they're dictating to the Rams. The defenses are dictating the Rams, and so that's been a change. I think one of the other things that has happened to the Rams is they lost 2/5 of their starting offensive line, and they replaced them with players that aren't as good and that are young and aren't as experienced, and that's hurt them a little bit as well. So there's kind of a perfect storm here, if you will, of what they're facing is something that they like I said, that they haven't prepared for during the week because everybody's just taking a piece of that game plan from the New England Patriots and just kind of putting it in. So they work all week about, preparing to play a defense that's going to do one thing, and then they have to adjust on the sideline. And they certainly haven't adjusted as well over the course of this season as you would hope. And part of that is because they've got some new pieces, some new components, and obviously they haven't figured out exactly how to adjust to the way the defensive fronts and the structures that they're getting on a consistent basis.
Who's your MVP at this point?
Yeah, I'd probably put it with Russell Wilson. Some of the things that he has done, not only in the every down situation, but the second chance plays or the second reaction plays, what he means to the Seattle Seahawks, what he means to that offense is probably, if you're breaking it down as most valuable, there's nobody more valuable to their football team than Russell Wilson is to the Seattle Seahawks.
Who's the second best team in the AFC?
Wow. Yeah. It feels like Houston to me right now is probably the second best team.
Yeah.
But, like every team is in it, right? What are there, 16 teams in the AFC? You're all in it. Everybody's still got a chance to make the playoffs. Week 6 we're through, and it seems like and Broncos just won a game to go 2-4, and it feels to me like they're still in this playoff hunt. They're in this. They play Kansas City on Thursday night. This Thursday night, they win that game, and they're one game out of first place in their division. It seems like everybody's in it.
We're talking to Mark Schlereth, Fox Sports NFL analyst, a 3-time Super Bowl champ. If I put it up to a player's vote, and I said you could vote for get rid of instant replay, get rid of it completely, or keep it as is, how do you think the players would vote?
get rid of it.
Yeah, that's my feeling, Mark, because we give you a chance to replay the replay, and they're still getting things wrong. And I just don't understand that it feels like they don't want to embarrass the officials.
Well, I've always said this. One, they put in instant replay, and then they tell the officials, hey, make sure you swallow your whistles and let instant replay figure it out, right? And I think it's created guys who are less sure of themselves, guys who are less demonstrative. And then I think you're asking them to do things that are just physically impossible to do. So I think all those things kind of add up. And it slows down the game. I mean, hell, every time every time there's a big play, every time there's an explosive play, the first thing I do is I check my monitor after we're done calling the play, looking for a flag. Is there a flag? What's going to happen? Is there a penalty? What's going on? And there's a bunch of things, like I keep getting these rules where, well, you can't review that one. Like, that's reviewable. That one's not reviewable, and that's reviewable, but that one's not. And we can't reverse that one because I'm just like, just scrap out the whole thing. Let's just play the game and just understand that mistakes are part of it, and the best teams are going to win.
Yeah, we keep thinking maybe offensive and defensive linemen wearing mittens because there was a moment in the Cowboys-Jets game yesterday in the final drive. I think there were 6 or 7 consecutive penalties. And I just went, at some point, they have to know this is bad for business. There's no flow to a game anymore. And it didn't get better. We overreacted to the missed call in the Saints game. That's why we're here. And I don't think they've made the product better this year. They made it worse.
No, and I think it'll go away. And by the way, the officials essentially are being told we're not going to overrule you anymore. I mean, that's where we are right now. So even if it is blatant, we've seen some blatant pass interference, OPI or DPIs that are called that you go back and you think there's no way this is going to be upheld. And then, they uphold it anyway. They're like, yeah, we're going to scrap pile this in the end anyhow, so we're not going to overturn anything. I'm with you. The whole thing is somewhat of a debacle. But listen, holding happens as long as it's away from the play. Who cares? My theory is this, Dan, and I live by this, and I'm an old offensive lineman, but don't get held, right? If you get held, you suck. Don't get held. That's what I say.
How many times do you think you got called for holding in your career?
I don't know, probably less than a dozen.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I probably averaged one a year. I think I had, because I had a couple 0 holding call years. I think in my 6 years in Denver, I had 6 holding calls.
Could you ever talk your way out? Is it like, with a police officer talking your way out of a speeding ticket, or do you just shut up?
Well, I would talk my way out of it before the game. I used to go to the umpire every game and be like, listen, dude, they're bigger, faster, stronger. I'm just old and broken. You realize that, right? And so then I would be like, listen, I am going to hold. I am going to molest this guy. I'm going to hold on every single play, but my hands will be inside because my hands are great, and they'll be inside. And I go, you cannot throw a flag on that. Like, I am going to undress this dude, but you cannot throw a flag on that as long as my hands are inside. I'd let them know exactly how they should officiate me. Like, here's the rules for officiating me. And it actually worked pretty well, I mean, for the most part, I would even get warnings sometimes, like, hey, Schlereth, you're a little bit outside on that. Your hands are a little outside. This is your warning. Oh, yeah, all the time. I talk up a blue streak to them.
I'll leave you with this. When should Browns fans start to panic?
Now. I don't know about you, Dan, but I'm kind of rooting for him to lose every game.
Why's that?
I probably should. Hey, as an impartial broadcaster, I probably shouldn't say that, but it's kind of a fun game.
Do you have any Browns games on the schedule?
Well, not right now. Probably won't get any either. So.
Not after that.
Not after that comment.
Hey, always great to talk to you. Enjoyed listening to you and Dick Stockton yesterday. Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
All right, Mark Schlereth. I don't know how many surgeries he had. He had over 20, I think. Like whenever I'd feel bad about all my surgeries, all I'd do is I'd run into Schlereth at ESPN, and then he would tell me all the knee surgeries he had. Is it just me or Schlereth getting goofier? Right? He's getting goofier.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.